Hey, hello, welcome back to another episode of Ruinous, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for tuning in. Well, what are we going to be reacting today, ladies and gentlemen? Well, as you might see from the title and thumbnail of this video, we are going to be reacting to athletes who went completely broke in the year 2022 because of dumb decisions. Let's see if this is really dumb or just plain stupid, ladies and gentlemen. So, without any further ado, let's get this video started. But before that, ladies and gentlemen, as you might see on the news, ladies and gentlemen, the Queen of England has been announced dead. Well, my heartfelt condolences to the great leader or the great monarch who has been ruling England for past more than 70-80 years, ladies and gentlemen. Well, a moment of silence to the great leader. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. Well, my heartfelt condolences to her. But let's get this video started, shall we, ladies and gentlemen? So, as I mentioned before, athletes who went broke with dumb decision. This is uploaded to YouTube by your folks at Be Amazed. If you do want to see this video without me disturbing it, ladies and gentlemen, obviously full links are down in the description below, or also it will appear on the screen right now. So
whether it's slam dunks, touchdowns, or home runs, if you give the crowd something to cheer about, you can cash in the millions. But with great financial power comes great financial responsibility. And not all our favorite stars are up to the challenge.
Oh, Mike Tyson
whether
still on the
they
list.
blew it on golden bathtubs, rock and roll cafes, or contentious divorces, these are the sporting heroes who made some seriously dumb decisions.
Okay.
Iron Mike's spending hike. For pro boxer Mike Tyson, there's no such thing as bad publicity. Able to turn any attention into showcase fights and publicity endorsements, Iron Mike became one of the highest paid athletes of all time.
Yep,
From his debut in 1985, his total career earnings rack up to a jaw-dropping $423 million.
$423 million in the year 1985. That's approximately, with today's inflation, almost around $500 million, ladies and gentlemen. That's pretty good. I know for a fact that he has a bad spending habits. I have seen him buy some ridiculous things. It was all already available on YouTube, ladies and gentlemen. I think he has bought 2 or 3 Bengal tigers, a white tiger also, and some other lavish purchases, including his home, ladies and gentlemen. Obviously, home you can spend it, but other than that, I don't know why he has bought the Bengal tiger. I'm not sure. As of right now, the 2022 is still in the, he's completely broke. As of 2021, he has, 2020, he has made some improvements to, obviously change his life for the better, because he went completely broke without not even a single dollar. So that he started a new business. He wrote a book, I think. So I'm not sure about what he has done right now, but I'm sure that he is stable in terms of financial. I mean, not in the terms of $423 million, but I'm sure that he is stable right now.
At least. So what did he do with all that money? Well, he blew his record-breaking fortune on just about anything money could buy. He bought opulent mansions, limousines, parties, clothes, motorbikes, and Bengal tigers.
Yeah, Bengal tigers.
Yes, you heard me correctly. Mike Tyson bought 3 tigers as pets, and they lived right alongside him in his $2.5 million mansion, one of at least 6 he owned. But keeping tigers as pets is not cheap. Iron Mike coughed up $70,000 for the big cats, with another $200,000 a year going on their food bill alone. Not only that, but Tyson was forced to splash out another $125,000 just having them house-trained. It's unclear if that even worked, considering one of the tigers, Kenya, ended up attacking one of Tyson's neighbors. For that incident, Tyson was forced to foot a $250,000 damages bill. That means in just the costs we know about, the multimillionaire spent at least $645,000 on tigers, adding in the $173,000 80-carat diamond chain and $2 million golden bathtub. You can't be surprised that Tyson was bankrupt by 2003. Yep, a man who once bathed in a golden tub and could charge $30 million for one night's work was $38.4 million in debt. At the time of his bankruptcy, Tyson was 37. Only 7 years earlier, for his 30th birthday, the star had splashed more than $435,000 in just one night of partying. Now approaching 40, all Iron Mike had to show for it were climbing debts and more than $13 million in unpaid tax. But all was not lost. By 2021,
Yeah, I told
Tyson
you.
has at least made some of his fortune back. No one can sniff at his current estimated net worth of $10 million. Yeah, that's a lot of money to the rest of us, but to Tyson, that's just 2.4% of his original fortune. I guess there is such a thing as having too much dollar, and Mike Tyson would know about biting off more than you can chew. Destructive Diego. Widely considered the greatest player
You know,
of
is this Diego Maradona? Yes, my dad's. You know, my dad's one of my dad's favorite soccer players.
generation. Diego Maradona's glorious 21-year soccer career saw him rise to a godlike status in his native Argentina and earned some serious bucks. When he played for the Italian team, Napoli, between 1984 and 1991.
Remember, ladies and gentlemen, I have never heard about Diego Maradona apart from this video and a few short clips from YouTube, ladies and gentlemen. I know he's one of the greatest football players of the time, but my dad only introduced him. You know, my dad only told him that he was one of the greatest players. Until then, I was not sure about who he was. But if I insulted any of the fans of the Diego Maradona, I'm really sorry.
$3 million a year. On top of that, the star was inundated with sponsorships and endorsements, totaling another $8 to $10 million. Maradona had it all. The star spent lavishly, scooping up 5 properties in Argentina, a $360,000 Rolls Royce, a BMW i8 worth around $175,000, and a diamond ring worth
that's really cool, ladies and gentlemen. I like the blue ring.
$60,000 to name a few assets. Later in his life, he was even gifted a large amphibious tank by the Belarusian government.
Wow!
Yep, when you get a free tank, you know you've made it. Being paraded on the streets in his new ride, Diego looked like the richest man on earth. But was he?
Nah.
In 2005, the Italian government revealed that Maradona had all of this money because he was evading tax.
Oh,
that's right.
Okay.
While he spent at least $800,000
Damn, is that Diego Maradona, man? How much he spent?
$95,000 on flashy cars and jewelry. The star owed a whopping $48.6 million.
$48.6 million in taxes alone. Oh boy, half of his salary is gone. Sorry, half of his earnings are gone, ladies and
unpaid taxes.
Unpaid taxes.
Despite this, when he sadly passed away in 2020, the Maradona family were expecting a substantial inheritance, with Diego claiming during his final days that he had $100 million in assets. But when the wake was over and the receipts came in, it was revealed his spending had taken a huge toll. To their horror, the Maradona family discovered their patriarch had only $500,000 left to his name. I mean, that's not bad, but it's hardly the millions they were expecting. And to this day,
you know, once he was earning a $40 million down to $500,000. That's pure shit, ladies.
Today, those debts to the Italian government still need to be paid. Not paying all that tax turned out to be super irresponsible. Almost as irresponsible as not hitting those like and subscribe buttons below. Go on now.
Yep, ladies and gentlemen. Do this. Hit the subscribe, hit the like, turn on your post notifications to my channel, ladies and gentlemen. Obviously, if you do want to see more of this stuff, and if you do want to see any of the other videos, and if you're interested, and if you do want to, you know, submit your valuable decisions on what videos should I react to next, drop it down in the comment section below. Or obviously, ladies and gentlemen, you know where to find me on the Instagram as well as to Twitter, ladies and gentlemen. Sunil Silvan at Instagram and Sunil Silvan at Twitter. So drop a comment on there. Make sure to read it and drop a PM message over there too. So I'm sorry for coming.
All done? Great. Now, which irresponsible sporty spender have we got next? Resourceless Raghib.
Okay, I'm not sure.
As the wide receiver for Notre Dame in the early 90s, Raghib Ismail's star was on the rise. With hype building for a professional career, Ismail wanted to commit to the National Football League in 1991.
1991,
but then
I'm not
something
sure.
unexpected happened.
I'm definitely not sure.
The Toronto Argonauts, who were from the newly formed Canadian Football League, offered Ismail a whopping $18 million to play in Canada.
In the terms of soccer,
after success there, he was eventually drafted back into the NFL as a wide receiver for the Oakland Raiders. In career contracts across both leagues, Ismail banked around $26.9 million. And then he retired.
$26.9 million, ladies and gentlemen.
In peace, right? Not Raghib. Instead of settling for a comfortable retirement, the ex-player embarked on a series of business ventures. Or more accurately, business blunders. There was the prepaid phone card idea, the calligraphy business, the religious movie, and craziest of all, the rock and roll themed cafe. And
these are all good businesses, ladies and gentlemen. I know he spent all of his money on things, but he's not the same as other celebrities that we saw on the list, ladies and gentlemen, because he did, he obviously did spend a lot of money on businesses, but he did it for a future income. And I know none of the businesses that he did make a profit or did success, but he did the right thing of buying businesses instead of flourishing himself or his family member with gold, cars, etc., etc.
It wasn't the Hard Rock. Each one failed hard. Obviously, no one told Ismail that the Rock and Roll Cafe idea might have already been taken. That might explain why, despite his $300,000 investment, Ismail still has no idea whether the restaurant ever materialized or not. Wow, Ismail may as well have thrown that $300,000 into the sea. Now, not all the failures were Ismail's fault. The Rock and Roll Cafe suffered from chronic mismanagement, a rite of passage for every rock group, and the souvenir shop was wiped out by Hurricane Katrina. But no matter the cost, there was no recovering the lost dollar. And so Ismail's fortune was well and truly wasted. Having lost it all, Ismail was able to avoid total bankruptcy through broadcast punditry. But even then, despite all he'd lost, the guy just couldn't stop investing. And if you can believe it, Ismail's final investment in the mouthguard company ByteTech actually paid off.
Wow,
he may have made some silly mistakes, but ByteTech is still in business.
Nice.
Ismail may not have all the money he once had, but at least we can say he's not broke anymore, which is more than can be said for some others on this list. Deplorable Dykstra. For baseball fans of a certain generation, Lenny Dykstra was the man. A heroic slugger for the New York Mets and Philadelphia Phillies, Dykstra was nicknamed Nails because of his uncompromising style of play. That winning attitude meant by the end of his career in 1996,
I don't know any of the things, any of the rules or any of the things on the baseball side of things.
Not only that, but after investing in a successful chain of car washes, Dykstra had bumped that up to a whopping $58 million by 2008. But $58 million just didn't leave Dykstra satisfied. In search of more dough, he went on to become a stock-picking columnist. Dykstra took at least $250,000 worth of secretly issued stock in exchange for recommending that stock to subscribers of TheStreet.com, who paid a whopping $1,000 a year for his advice. And the reason that sounds shady is because it is. On top of that, his desire to live large led him to publish a glossy magazine called The Players Club, the bills of which were not cheap. Because of all this complex business, Dykstra found himself facing a cascade of lawsuits, outstanding debts, and bills. In those lawsuits, damaging allegations emerged that Dykstra had resorted to using his employees' credit cards to fund his lavish lifestyle. On one, he left a $32,000 charge for a leased jet from Atlanta to Montana, so he could watch his son's minor league baseball game. Doesn't exactly sound like a business expense to me. As a result, in 2012, Dykstra found himself on the receiving end of charges for both fraud and money laundering. After being sued for everything he had left, bankruptcy followed, as well as hard time behind bars. Times have changed, however. In August of 2020, Dykstra announced he had gone 27 consecutive months without being arrested. While that's a good start, he surely regrets the crimes and shady dealings that landed him with those jail sentences.
At least, accepts the fate.
Brash Brunell.
Again, ladies
Call
and
it
gentlemen,
sad,
another player of
but some folks are
NFL
fans
soccer
of the
league.
Jacksonville Jaguars. And if you're a Jaguars fan, you'll know the meaning of the word lose. Things were no different back in the late 90s, and the long-suffering team were ready for a star player to join their ranks. Enter Mark Brunell. While Brunell couldn't get them to the Super Bowl, the quarterback still went down as one of the best players in Jaguars history. And with a career like that, you can bet the coin came a-calling. Over the course of his career, Brunell made nearly $70 million. That would surely be enough to keep him comfortable for the rest of his life. No need for Brunell to make risky investments in,
$70 million is enough for a
fledgling fast food companies, right? Well,
Whataburger.
tell that to the $9 million Brunell sunk into the fast food chain Whataburger. Brunell spent a fortune setting up Whataburger.
I'm pretty sure that Whataburger, when it started, was pretty rough, ladies and gentlemen. But I do know that for a fact that Whataburger in the year 2022 has gained some popularity among others. Also, with the rival companies like other companies. I'm not sure about the other companies that are available in the US, but I'm sure the rival companies are also coming up with brand new ideas in order to close Whataburger. But Whataburger is also doing great in the year 2022. It might be not. I'm just giving a hunch, ladies and gentlemen.
Restaurants in and around the Jacksonville area. But the people of Jacksonville weren't as keen on Whataburgers as Brunell thought, and the restaurants began to hemorrhage money. At the same time, the quarterback was sinking $11 million into a company ironically named Champion LLC.
Okay.
But that money, used to invest in the real estate market, was lost to the great housing market crash of 2008, and Mark was left with no other option than to file for
$9 million and $11 million total loss, ladies and gentlemen. Yikes! That's gonna hurt a lot.
Bankruptcy. And this was while he was still an active NFL player. By 2010, he was left with only $5.5 million in assets set against almost $25 million in debt.
Yes, you lost it, but he still had millions in the bank account. I'm pretty sure that he's not going to invest in
the rest of us.
Any other,
when you tasted
fast food joints or any other businesses for sure.
There's no going back. What a tragedy. Spendthrift Sapp.
Sapp.
A defensive tackle for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and Oakland Raiders, Warren Sapp made over $75 million during his 12-year NFL career. That was the collective payout of 3 lucrative pro contracts. But incredibly, it wouldn't last a 4-time All-Pro for long. During his playing career, Sapp had begun to develop some dangerous spending habits. He went totally overboard, splashing the cash on things like $4.1 million mansions, a $1,200 lion skin rug, and bizarrely, 240 pairs of Air Jordans worth
this,
over
ladies and
$6,000.
gentlemen, if I had the money also, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to invest a lot in 2 things, ladies and gentlemen. Number 1 is going to be obviously the shoes, ladies and gentlemen. I'm a huge fan of shoes, mainly the boots type of wears. So that is what is showing right on the screen right now. So these type of shoes I really like, ladies and gentlemen. I already have a Nike Air Jordan 1, ladies and gentlemen, and the next thing that I'm pretty sure I'm investing in are gonna be brands of watches, ladies and gentlemen. I'm a huge fan of watches, whether it be a normal brand or an expensive brand. As you can see right now, ladies and gentlemen, this is a Dykstra brand watch, ladies and gentlemen. This cost about 25k. This is an Indian branded watch, and I do also have a Rolex. You might have seen it in my other videos or also that. I have a huge extensive collection of watches, ladies and gentlemen. I'm a huge fan of watches. So this is the one thing that I'm always going to be investing in.
$6,000 on 240
if I do get the money,
pairs
ladies
of the
and
same
gentlemen, you
shoe.
understand that, right?
A great and iconic shoe, no denying that. But spending that amount on shoes alone is bound to end badly.
Yeah,
you can tell that from 2 of Sapp's other needless expenses. A large nude painting of a woman, and a pair of boxing gloves signed by Muhammad Ali, neither of which came cheap. His needless spending was well and truly out of control. By 2012, the spending spree was forced to end as Sapp filed for bankruptcy. What happened to all those gloves and shoes and lion skin rugs? They disappeared in a pool of liquidation. At the time, Sapp had only $6.45 million in assets, a little below the $6.7 million he'd accrued in debt. To pay off that debt, Sapp worked as an analyst on the NFL Network, making more than $45,000 a month. Things were turning around for him. That was until he was arrested in 2015 on solicitation charges and fired from that cushy job. Nowadays, Sapp has returned to obscurity to count his debts, discounting a brief resurfacing in court for some very illegal activity. Looks like he never thought he'd be sapped of his cash. Reckless Rodman.
Oh, Rodman.
It's hard not to be fascinated by Dennis Rodman. Nicknamed the Worm for his incredible rebounding ability, Rodman earned around $27 million during his NBA
I've heard
career.
of him also, ladies and gentlemen. As mentioned before, I'm not a huge fan of any of the sports that I displayed in this video. I'm really sorry. I'm not a huge fan of sports, ladies and gentlemen. I do like watching sports, but the main sports that I watch are all about automotive stuff, ladies and gentlemen. Whether it be a MotoGP or a rally stage or even a F1, ladies and gentlemen. That are the sports that I really watch. I need to get, I need to indulge more in basketball. That is one of my favorite games, as well as football also, ladies and gentlemen. So I'll do that sometime later in the future, but I need to see a lot more about the basketball stuff, ladies.
And at the height of his fame, Rodman was the 10th highest paid player in the NBA.
Not
so
bad.
It's no surprise Rodman pursued a lavish lifestyle of excess. In 1996, he snapped up a 2-story LA home on the Seashore Drive for $825,000. The home became party central on Newport Beach, with revelers frolicking around for what were, I reckon, some very expensive parties. And on the way down the drive, party-going guests could ogle at Rodman's high-priced car collection. There was the custom-painted Hummer H1, the custom-painted Lamborghini Gallardo, the custom-fitted 1996 Porsche 993 TT, and a retro 1959 Cadillac convertible. And that was just a peek at his multi-million-dollar collection, although he didn't always have something to show.
What will be your choice if you do have the money and money is not the object? What type of cars would you have? Would you go for a pristine, a vintage classic automobile, or the future of hybrids, or even the fastest supercar on the planet with 1,000 horsepower, ladies and gentlemen? Whether it be a Bugatti Chiron or whether it be a Lamborghini Aventador with the aftermarket turbos installed. What do you think about that? Drop it down in the comment section below.
Chauffeur's expenses. He once lost $1 million in one fell swoop back in 1997 when he kicked a referee in the groin and found himself facing a fine and 11-game suspension. That was one expensive mistake that, it turned out, he really couldn't afford to make. By 2012, the worm had finally splashed all the cash on his weirdly outrageous lifestyle. That year, Rodman appeared in court to address charges that he owed $800,000 to his ex-wife and child support. There, Rodman's lawyers claimed the player had no means to pay the money, because the former millionaire had no money. Barely clinging on to any of the earnings he had left, today Rodman is worth less than 2% of his NBA earnings at just $500,000. For a player who could have been set for life, it shows just how quickly those riches can go away. Boris's bills. Now, there have been few careers as triumphant as Boris Becker's. Between 1985 and 1996, Becker won 3 Wimbledon championships, 2 Australian Opens, and 1 US Open. With all that success, and a singles career win rate of 76.9%, you can bet the money came rolling in. From prize money alone, Becker earned a mouth-watering $25 million.
Not bad.
But that wasn't even half of it. Literally. Through sponsorships and endorsement deals.
The $25 million is through the sports quota, right? And the other $25 million, I hope, is from the ads and sponsors that have
$105 million.
$105 million, or almost $130 million in buy. Wow.
But unless you're careful with your millions, the cash can go quickly. After retiring in 1999, a bitter divorce with his first wife, Barbara Feltus, cost the player $25 million alone. In the separation, Becker lost a luxury condo in Miami and was forced to pay another $1.2 million buying Feltus property in London. Becker's debts would only increase in 2002 when the German government revealed he had evaded $3 million in taxes. To avoid prison, Becker was forced to accept a huge fine of $300,000.
What did he miss? What did he miss?
To avoid prison, when the German government revealed he had evaded $3 million in taxes.
$3 million
to avoid
in tax
prison,
evasion.
Becker was forced to accept a huge fine of 300,000 euros, a little over $450,000 today. 10 years later, and Becker was still faulting on debts. This time on a luxury villa in Mallorca. The 62-acre property, complete with basketball court, guest house, and orange grove, would cost the one-time rich guy money he simply no longer had. All these near misses finally came to a head in 2017 when, having blown through nearly all of that $130 million, a British judge declared Becker bankrupt. Although the court hesitated to give a concrete number, it was reported that he was in a staggering $54 million worth of debt.
$130 million in like that, ladies and gentlemen, gone in the wind.
Becker would end up auctioning off his hard-earned trophies, raising $937,823 in the process. But not even that was enough to save him from a 2019 decision to extend his bankruptcy restrictions all the way to the 16th of October 2031. A decision made after the ever-responsible Becker was found to be hiding assets worth over $6.1 million. I guess between bankruptcy and Becker, bankruptcy wins. George's worst. From 1963 to 1974, George Best, the iconic player for soccer team Manchester United, scored 137 goals in 361 appearances.
Why these, very old players are on the list, ladies and gentlemen.
For the team, cementing his place as a club legend. All that success didn't come without notoriety, however. Best also holds the distinction of becoming one of the first celebrity soccer players, and at the height of his fame, he was making the equivalent of $1 million a year. Much of that was used to fuel the player's hedonistic partying, which Best didn't deny. When Best filed for bankruptcy in 1983, he openly admitted to spending a whopping 90% of his money on women, drink, and fast cars. This also meant he couldn't afford to pay a £16,000 unpaid tax bill, which ballooned to £60,000, roughly $200,000 today, in the 10-year wrangle that followed. Inevitably, shortly after he retired in 1984, the superstar was totally broke. With his partying had come alcohol addiction and eventually illness. His final words, published in the News of the World, read simply, "Don't die like me." Wow, we'll let that one speak for itself.
Wow.
Immoderate Iverson. Nicknamed the Answer, Allen Iverson is considered one of the NBA's best ever players. To put his success in perspective, Iverson's playoff scoring average of 29.7 points per game is second only to the legendary Michael Jordan. Over his 15-year career, Allen Iverson raked in a dumbfounding $155 million. Now, Iverson didn't invest it or save it. Like many of the squandering stars in this video, Iverson straight up spent it. His monthly expenses included $10,000 on clothes, $10,000 on restaurants, and more than $10,000 on groceries.
Wow.
Yep, $10,000 on toilet paper and onions a month. That's because Iverson bought for his entire entourage, which could include as many as 50 people. Now, Iverson trusted his friends, but that might not have been the best decision. Suspicious of banks, Iverson would keep all his cash in garbage bags lying around his mansion. And on occasion, a bag or two would mysteriously go missing. Doesn't take a genius to figure out where it was probably going. But it wasn't as if Iverson wasn't squandering the dough himself. His friends revealed that he'd routinely drop between $30,000 and $40,000 a night in strip clubs.
Wow.
Anecdotally, this happened so often that Iverson would scoop up his own money from a previous night and toss it down a second time. Iverson's wastefulness continued and continued. At one point, his spending was so excessive that upon departing a flight at the airport, Iverson bought a whole new car when he forgot where his ride was parked.
Wow.
Now that's just boasting. Because of needless escapades like that, all Iverson's assets had been drained by 2012. The player was forced to declare himself bankrupt when he was unable to pay a $900,000 debt to a jeweler in Georgia. Just how much bling had this guy ordered? But fortunately, Iverson had one lifeline remaining. A unique sports endorsement contract with Reebok meant Iverson had a lifetime deal, including payments of $800,000 a year and a $32 million trust fund he'll gain access to in the year 2030. So despite his recklessness, in a few years Iverson will probably be back to his old spending habits. I can hear the strippers rejoicing now. Ruinous Randy. During his 12-year career in the NBA, Randy Brown earned a $15 million fortune. They were 12 successful years for Brown, who won 3 championships with the Chicago Bulls, a team spearheaded by the return of Michael Jordan. Of all the NBA championship rings to have earned, those are by far some of the most valuable. It's these types of historic accolades most basketball players can only dream of one day owning. But Brown's time with his championship rings wasn't to last. After poor investments in real estate and restaurant businesses, Brown was left with no choice but to declare bankruptcy in January 2008. And guess which valuable assets the player was forced to auction off? Yep, it was the rings. In an extremely painful decision, Brown was forced to sell his 3 rings, the crown jewels of his career, to the debt collectors. An anonymous bidder paid $53,833 for all 3, but that reportedly barely made a dent in the debt that needed to be paid. Price aside, Brown must miss those rings a lot, and losing a powerful ring can really mess a guy up. Just look at Gollum.
It's a huge loss.
Careless Canseco.
All the other
With
old
462 home runs under his belt, Jose Canseco's baseball career saw 2 World Series titles with the Oakland Athletics and New York Yankees. Canseco was one of the MLB's best, a 6-time All-Star and home run leader in both the 1988 and 1991 seasons. And as we know, premium success means premium cash. With Canseco banking a healthy $55 million fortune, the slugger looked set for life. If only he hadn't mired himself in a disastrous cascade of bad decisions, divorces, and tax crimes. In 2008, having been out of the game for about 9 years, Canseco was hit by the housing crisis and had to foreclose on his 7,300 square foot mansion in Los Angeles, on which he owed the bank more than $2.5 million. That year, he claimed his 2 divorces had also cost him a hefty $7 to $8 million each. He also claimed that when the stock market crashed, he lost a further $11 million.
Yeah, it's
Canseco's
that
lowest
much.
moment came when he wound up living in a friend's garage with only $20 to his name. In 2012, a reporter revealed that
$150
Canseco
million,
still owed the
ladies and gentlemen,
IRS
with
$1.1
$20 remaining with all this spending. God damn it.
million in unpaid taxes. That year, he filed for Chapter 7 bankruptcy. Sadly, it hasn't gotten much better for him. In 2021, Jose took an offer of $50,000 to star in an amateur boxing match against a Barstool Sports intern. He was humiliatingly defeated in less than 10 seconds.
Yikes.
Scrapping for $50,000 is a long way from the $55 million he was once handed. But recently, Canseco claimed that he gets by just fine and is no longer plagued with legal issues. I mean, you have to commend a guy who gets up after he's been knocked down like that. So which of these athletes do you think made the dumbest decisions? And who?
So ladies and gentlemen, hope you do like this video. Hope you enjoyed the reaction of this video, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, I know I didn't speak a lot much on this video because as I told you before, ladies and gentlemen, most of the players in the list are not familiar to me, ladies and gentlemen. So that's why I could not, tell you my honest opinion of them. But in an entire portion of this, ladies and gentlemen, a summary on how to save money. Do your goddamn taxes, ladies and gentlemen. That's how you spend, that's how you save a little bit of money. But if you do like this video, you know what to do, ladies and gentlemen. Hit the like, hit the subscribe, turn on your post notifications, ladies and gentlemen. And also, do you like, roast me in the comment section below also, ladies and gentlemen. And as you might seen from the last video, ladies and gentlemen, I got 100 subscribers, so that's pretty cool. And I got 43 views from the last video. And my channel's bumping up a little bit. Tell me what are the other changes that I need to do in my channel, ladies and gentlemen. Well, with all that said, ladies and gentlemen, I'll see you on the next episode of Sunil's View. Until then, it's your boy Sunil signing off. Take care and peace.